All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts: the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. And the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. The 100 Years' War, Chrissy Agincourt, the last honest war fought by men without excuses, written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. Men are being erased by design. How gynocentrism, therapy culture, and cultural Marxism are castrating the West one weak man at a time. You know that moment when you're standing in the grocery store minding your own business and a toddler throws a screaming fit because mommy won't buy the sugary cereal, and instead of correcting the child, mommy caves again, handing over the rainbow-boxed poison like it's communion. That's not parenting. That's gynocentric sovereignty in action. Emotion as law, whim as policy, female desire as the final court of appeal. And brother, that same dynamic runs the world now, from divorce court to the White House. I used to think men were losing because we weren't empathetic enough, weren't listening to women, weren't doing the damn dishes with enough passion. Then I read Schopenhauer and the scales fell off. He called it the will, not feelings, not vibes, not lived experience, but the raw, unapologetic force behind creation, conquest, and survival. Men aren't broken. We've been castrated, not by knives, but by 1,000 paper cuts. Ritalin for boys who won't sit still, restraining orders for fathers who enforce bedtime. And universities that teach that math is racist, because Robin DiAngelo needs to sell another guilt-laden paperback. Let's get real. 85% of family court cases end with children ripped from their fathers, while false domestic violence allegations, filed almost exclusively by women, go unchecked. Meanwhile, a man gets punched by his girlfriend, calls the cops, and is told, "You're a man, suck it up." But when a woman slaps a man in a viral TikTok, it's empowerment. That's not justice. That's war. And we're losing because we've been brainwashed to believe that weakness is virtue. The red pill isn't about hating women. It's about seeing that hypergamy isn't a myth, it's biology with a lipstick stain. Seeing that open-mindedness from the left means shut up and comply. Seeing that the feminist revolution wasn't for equality, it was a hostile takeover, and men are the disarmed population surrendering their wealth, children, and dignity at the altar of female infallibility. This book isn't therapy, it's surgery. We're cutting out the rot, the lies, the sentimentality, the therapeutic dictatorship that's turned strong men into guilt-ridden eunuchs. We're reviving the trivium, logic to cut through the fog, rhetoric to shame the deceivers, grammar to rebuild truth. And we're resurrecting the transcendentals. The good, duty, the true, facts, not feelings, and the beautiful, a man who stands unbroken in the storm. You're not crazy, you're awake. And if you're ready to stop apologizing for existing, to reclaim your will, your boundaries, your sovereignty, then keep reading. Babylon's gates are cracking. The tyranny of the therapeutic, how emotionalism corrupted the Western mind. A man who feels too much will end up doing nothing. Arthur Schopenhauer, and he wasn't wrong. You know what else he wasn't wrong about? That the world is a stage of suffering driven by blind will. A truth no therapist with a lavender candle and a degree from Antioch College will ever help you face. I watched a video last week of a man being dragged from his home by social workers because he refused to hug his daughter during a tantrum, Not because he hit her, not because he yelled. Because he didn't perform the emotion she demanded. He was told he was guilty of emotional neglect, a crime invented by feminist psychologists who believe a man's duty is to mirror female emotional chaos back at them like a trained mirror. This isn't parenting. This is Stockholm Syndrome for fathers, and it's spreading like a virus through every school HR department and family court in the West. They don't want men who lead. They want men who respond, who validate, who apologize for existing. And so they've medicalized masculinity, Ritalin prescriptions for boys who won't sit still, therapy referrals for teens who don't cry on command, and family courts that treat fatherhood like a probationary privilege granted by the state and revoked at a mother's whim. The CDC reports that suicide rates among men have increased by over 50% since 1999, while the rate for girls remains stable. Do you know why? Because men are being told they're toxic for wanting to provide, protect, and persevere. And when they break, no one offers them a sword, only a pill. The phrase toxic masculinity was not coined by men. It was not born in battle, in philosophy, or in the forge of reality. It was invented in a therapy session by a feminist academic named Shepard Bliss, a man who ran from the battlefield of real conflict straight into the arms of emotional navel-gazing. The term was weaponized not to critique actual evil, but to pathologize the very traits that built Western civilization: strength, resolve, ambition, stoicism. When Aristotle spoke of ethos, he meant character, not emotional compliance. But Rousseau came along with his weepy romanticism and told men it was noble to feel everything. And so we traded virtue for sentimentality, and now wonder why our sons can't stand up to a girl's temper tantrum in a Starbucks. I met a man last year whose son was suspended from school for refusing to use a classmate's preferred pronouns. Not because he was rude, not because he bullied, but because he refused to lie. The school counselor said he needed emotional intelligence training. What they meant was, you will submit or you will be broken. This is not education, this is ideological grooming. And it's built on a lie that feelings are facts, that vulnerability is virtue, that a man who doesn't cry is broken, but a woman who lies, cheats, and weaponizes emotion is complex and deep. Let's be brutally honest. Women are not kinder, wiser, or more peaceful than men. They are just better at hiding their cruelty behind tears and trauma narratives. Study after study shows that in family court, mothers lie about abuse in up to 70% of custody cases, not because they're evil, but because the system rewards it. The state has built a machinery that assumes women are victims and men are suspects. And when you add in the fact that nearly 1 in 4 men are raising children that aren't genetically theirs, thanks to a female infidelity rate that hovers between 10 to 15%, you begin to see the full picture. Men are not the oppressors. They are the exploited, the betrayed, the disarmed, and yet we're told to check our privilege as if owning a toolbox and a car payment is some kind of systemic advantage. The truth is, the only privilege women have is the privilege of being believed, no matter how many lies they tell. And the only privilege men have is the privilege of being blamed, no matter how many lies are told about them. I don't care what Brené Brown says about vulnerability being courage. Real courage is standing in front of a mob and saying no, not sobbing into a journal about your childhood. Real courage is paying the bills when the lights go out. It's holding your wife's hand when she's in labor. It's telling your daughter no when she's screaming like a banshee. But the therapeutic state that soft totalitarianism of counselors, DEI officers, and feminist psychologists has redefined courage as emotional submission. They want men to be open not to truth, but to guilt, to shame, to doubt. They don't want you to think, they want you to feel. And when you feel, you become pliable. You become a subject, not a citizen. You become a patient, not a man. Schopenhauer saw this coming. He knew that the will to live is not a feeling, it's a force, a blind, driving, irrational urge that must be mastered, not indulged. But we've created a culture where men are taught to introspect instead of act, to therapize instead of fight, to apologize instead of lead. And so we have weak men and tyrannical women, Women who know they can scream, lie, and manipulate because the system will protect them, and men who know they will be punished for enforcing boundaries, for speaking truth, for being strong. They tell you to listen to women, but they never tell you to listen to the data. They never tell you that false rape accusations are proven in 2 to 10% of cases, but that number skyrockets when false reports are included. They never tell you that women initiate domestic violence at nearly the same rate as men, but that men are arrested 80% more often, even when they're the victims. They never tell you that female infidelity is a major driver of divorce, but that men are still expected to forgive and forget as if their dignity were a disposable tissue. This isn't equality. This is gynocentrism, a system that places women at the center of moral concern while treating men as disposable labor units and emotional punching bags. And the therapeutic culture is its enforcement arm. Every time a man is told to check his privilege, every time a boy is medicated for being energetic, every time a father is stripped of his rights for emotional neglect, the machine hums louder. It doesn't want truth. It doesn't want justice. It wants compliance. It wants men who kneel not before God but before the altar of female feeling. So here's the remedy. Stop. Thinking ends where feeling begins, and we've let feeling run the show for too long. A man's duty is not to soothe. It is to know, to act, to defend. Emotions are data, not directives. Fear tells you danger is near. Anger tells you a boundary has been crossed, but they don't tell you what to do. Reason does. And reason is dying in the West because we've outsourced it to therapists who are trained ideologues, not truth seekers. Revive Stoicism, revive Schopenhauer, revive the trivium, logic, rhetoric, grammar, so you can see through the lies. Study the biology. Women are more verbally fluent, more emotionally expressive, more relationally manipulative, not because they're evil, but because evolution shaped them to survive through social cohesion, not combat. Men were shaped to protect, provide, and persevere. And when you neuter those instincts, you don't create peace, you create prey. And right now, men are being farmed for guilt, shame, and submission, while women and the state expand power unchecked. Break the spell. Stop apologizing for your strength. Stop medicating your sons. Stop kneeling before emotional blackmail. The West was built by men who acted, not by men who felt. And if it's to be saved, it will be saved by men who remember that truth is not a feeling, it is a sword. I once believed the lie too, that women were naturally kinder, purer, more moral. I was raised on fairy tales where the princess tames the beast, where love conquers all, where a man's worth is measured by how much he suffers for a woman's smile. It wasn't until I watched a friend lose his house, his kids, his life savings, all because his wife lied in court and no one, not a judge, not a lawyer, not a so-called friend, was willing to say she was the problem, that the scales fell. That moment wasn't just a betrayal, it was a revelation. The system doesn't protect truth, it protects the myth. The feminine imperium, how gynocentrism became the shadow government. Women are the real terrorists, said Napoleon Bonaparte, not because he hated women, but because he understood their power. Not the power of muscle or war, but the power of leverage. Social, emotional, reproductive. Let me be clear, I do not hate women. I love women. When they are real, when they are honest, when they earn respect. But the myth of the innocent woman, the eternal nurturer, the moral superior, is one of the most destructive lies in Western history. It is a lie that has bankrupted men, orphaned children, and eviscerated justice. And it is upheld not by nature, but by a cult of gynocentrism so deeply embedded in our institutions that it operates like a shadow government, unseen, unchallenged, and utterly destructive. Consider this, in modern divorce courts, men lose on average 70% of their wealth, not through theft, not through war, but through legal alchemy performed by state-sanctioned witches in black robes who call it equity. I once watched a man, a civil engineer, father of 3, reduced to tears in family court because his wife, who had not worked in a decade, demanded the house, the savings, the children, and spousal support. When he dared to question the fairness, the judge glared at him like he'd kicked a puppy. The wife later posted on Instagram, "Single mom grinding. Reality, she wasn't a single mom. She was a double-income queen who had weaponized the law against her husband's character, his finances, and his fatherhood. This isn't justice. This is ritual sacrifice at the altar of genocentrism." And let's talk about the restraining order, a legal grenade that 98% of women can pull without consequence. Studies from the National Coalition for Men show that false allegations of domestic abuse are not rare, they are systemic and overwhelmingly female on male. Yet when a man reports abuse, he's laughed at. When he defends himself, he's arrested. The police are trained to assume the man is the aggressor. Why? Because the myth says women are incapable of violence, incapable of deception, incapable of cruelty. But history laughs at this fiction. Ask Lucrezia Borgia how innocent women are. Ask the wives who poisoned their husbands in Victorian England. Ask the women who ran brothels with more cruelty than any pimp. Women are not inherently evil, but they are human, and to deny their capacity for malice is to disarm men in the war for truth. We live in a culture that excuses female rage as stress, female manipulation as emotional intelligence, and female betrayal as self-care. I had a friend whose wife screamed at him for 3 hours because he forgot to buy almond milk. His pastor told him she's just hormonal. Be patient. His therapist said, validate her feelings. No one said she's a tyrant. Leave. This is the she's just stress defense, the modern absolution for female tyranny. It's the same logic used to excuse women who lie about rape, who abandon children, who drain bank accounts. We don't hold women accountable. We medicalize their bad behavior. And while we're soothing their trauma, men are dying. Male suicide rates are 4 times higher than women's. Men make up 93% of workplace fatalities. And yet, when was the last time you saw a public service campaign about male mental health? When did a university set up a men's center with free therapy and snacks? Never. Because gynocentrism doesn't care about men. It consumes them. This madness didn't appear from nowhere. It evolved from chivalry, a noble ideal that turned toxic when stripped of its spiritual foundation. Knights once served women as a metaphor for serving virtue, beauty, and God. But when God died, chivalry didn't die with him. It mutated. It became service without virtue, groveling without purpose. Today's version: The Bachelor, where grown men compete to propose to a woman they barely know, crawling through mud for a rose. It's not romance, it's ritual humiliation, and the audience? Millions of women and girls who cheer as men degrade themselves for female approval. This is not love, this is Stockholm Syndrome packaged as entertainment. Feminism promised equality. But the moment men said, fine, let's be equal, women demanded more rights, more protections, more money, more sympathy. The feminist bait and switch is complete. First, we just want fairness. Then, men should pay for everything, get drafted, die in wars, and still be punished if we're unhappy. They want male responsibility without male authority. They want male provision without male respect. And when men resist, they're called misogynists, abusers, toxic. The irony is so thick you could build a cathedral out of it. I once asked a feminist, if women are equal, why do you want special treatment in divorce, custody, and false accusation laws? She said, because women are victims, I replied. Then you don't want equality. You want dominance, she walked away. Because truth is uncomfortable when you've built your identity on a lie. The remedy, the masculine gaze. Not lust, not worship, not fear, but clear-eyed evaluation. A man must look at a woman and see not a goddess, not a victim, not a prize, but a human being capable of greatness, capable of rot. Love should be earned, not given as a default. The moment a man stops idealizing women and starts evaluating them, he breaks the spell, he becomes free. And here's the test. Can you say no? Not no, honey? Let's talk about it, but no. That's unreasonable. I won't do it. If you can't, you're not kind, you're prey. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are the foundation of virtue. A man without boundaries is not noble. He's a corpse waiting to happen. We are not at war with women. We are at war with the lie that women are morally superior. This lie has destroyed marriages, families, and nations. It's time to bury it, not with rage, but with truth, with data, with courage. With the spirit of the West, logic, beauty, virtue, courage. Let the shadows flee. I remember the exact moment I realized the university wasn't a temple of truth. It was a seminary for heresy. I had walked in believing in reason, evidence, logic, the trivium as a sword against ignorance. But what I found was a cult of feeling where data was blasphemy and dissent was excommunication. That polio vaccine question wasn't just dismissed, it was demonized. Not because it was illogical, but because it threatened the dogma. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't about race or gender or equity. It was about power. The power to define reality, to punish the clear-eyed, and to anoint the delusional as wise. The left didn't hijack education. They infiltrated it, weaponized it, and turned it into a machine for manufacturing guilt, confusion, and compliance, and the foot soldiers. Professors who've never built anything, never led a team, never faced real risk, yet they preach to men about toxic masculinity as if they've ever stood in a storm and held the line. The great lie, how cultural Marxism infiltrated the West through academia and therapy. When a man gives up his will to think, he becomes a slave to those who do. That was etched into the back of my philosophy professor's door, and I didn't realize until years later that he was quoting Nietzsche while actively destroying the very thing Nietzsche warned against. I was sitting in a gender studies seminar at a top-tier university, surrounded by soft boys, nodding along as a grad student lectured on toxic productivity and how deadlines were a colonial construct designed to enslave brown people. I raised my hand and asked, so when the polio vaccine was developed, was that also colonial oppression? The room went silent, then laughter. Not hearty, honest laughter, the cackle of ideological possession. I was told I lacked emotional intelligence. What I lacked was the willingness to bow before the new priesthood, the DEI industrial complex, the Frankfurt School's bastard children. The cultural Marxists who have turned universities into confessionals where white men are forced to repent for crimes they didn't commit. This isn't education, it's exorcism by bureaucracy. And Robin DiAngelo's white fragility is the gospel of this grotesque revival. It's not sociology, it's theology in disguise. Original sin reborn as racial guilt, absolution granted only through endless penance, diversity training, self-flagellation, and the ritual sacrifice of merit. DiAngelo doesn't want dialogue, she wants inquisition. Her book is a checklist for how to detect heresy in white men. Are you defensive? Then you're guilty. Can you cite historical facts? Then you're in denial. Do you value logic over feelings? Then you're oppressive. It's the Salem witch trials with PowerPoint slides and LinkedIn badges. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is documented history. The Frankfurt School, Adorno, Horkheimer, Marcuse explicitly sought to undermine Western civilization by attacking its core institutions, family, religion, education, and reason itself. They didn't believe in free debate. They believed in cultural subversion. Marcuse even wrote about repressive tolerance, the idea that we should silence backward views, like yours and mine, in the name of liberation. Translation: heretics should be silenced. And now, their intellectual grandchildren run diversity departments, write tenure papers on heteronormative epistemic violence, and train HR drones to fire engineers who question why a woman with no coding experience gets promoted over a man with a 4.0 GPA from MIT. I've seen it. A friend of mine, let's call him James, worked at Google. He raised concerns about a DEI hire who couldn't write a basic loop in Python. He was pulled into a meeting, accused of bias amplification, and fired within 48 hours. No appeal, no due process, just the cold mechanical efficiency of ideological purity. Google didn't lose an engineer, they gained a martyr, and the rest of the team. They learned the real lesson. Shut up, collect your paycheck, and worship the diversity god. This is not capitalism. This is communism with stock options. Universities today are not centers of learning. They are inquisitions with student loans. They don't teach you to think, they teach you to confess. You walk in wanting to study physics and walk out repenting for male privilege. You mention that women initiate 70% of divorces and suddenly you're in diversity sensitivity training. You cite the 15% cuckoldry rate in Western nations, verified by DNA testing, and you're accused of harassment. You point out that 93% of family court cases result in children being taken from fathers, and you're the one labeled abusive. This isn't justice. This is ritualized male disposability. The left has built a system where facts are heresy, logic is oppression, and the only sin is dissent. They call it safe spaces, but what they mean is spaces unsafe for truth. I once attended a panel on masculine socialization where a professor claimed that ambition, discipline, and self-reliance were symptoms of toxic whiteness. Let me be clear, ambition built the pyramids, discipline landed men on the moon, and self-reliance ended slavery. These are not racial constructs, they are human virtues. To claim otherwise is not progressive, it's primitivism disguised as enlightenment. And yet, Harvard found that 84% of humanities professors identify as liberal 84%. That's not a faculty, that's a cult. There is no debate, no challenge. Just echo chambers where every paper reinforces the dogma. Power is evil, victimhood is virtue, and white men are the virus. They love to talk about lived experience as if emotion trumps evidence. My truth replaces the truth. But let me give you a lived experience. I once watched a female colleague falsely accuse a male manager of sexual tension after he rejected her advances. HR didn't investigate. They assumed he was guilty. He was suspended, humiliated, forced to attend empathy training. Meanwhile, she got a promotion. That's not justice. That's gynocentric impunity. And don't get me started on abortion. Over 60 million unborn lives erased in the US since Roe v. Wade, and we're supposed to celebrate reproductive freedom? Freedom to what? To dispose of inconvenient children like expired milk. Female nature is not sacred, it is strategic. Women are biologically wired to select for resources and status, and when the state hands them unilateral power over reproduction, they exercise it ruthlessly. And when men object, we're told to check our privilege. The family court system is a gynocratic tribulation, where fathers are treated like debtors and children like spoils of war. The suicide rate for divorced men, 8 times higher than married men. But try saying that in a men's wellness seminar. They'll tell you to process your feelings, not expose the system devouring you. The language of the left is not designed to communicate. It's designed to control. Trauma-informed care. It means your argument is invalid because someone might feel bad. Intersectionality? It's a moral ranking system where your oppression points determine your righteousness. Are you a gay, disabled, non-binary immigrant? You're sainted? Are you a straight, white, Christian man? You're inherently suspect. This is not equality, it's oppression hierarchy, a secular caste system with white men at the bottom. And they wrap it in the language of inclusion while excluding anyone who dares to reason. I once challenged a diversity trainer who claimed that punctuality was a white supremacist construct. I asked, so when a surgeon is late, that's cultural sensitivity. She glared at me and said, you're showing fragility, that's the end game. Any challenge to the dogma is proof of guilt. It's a closed loop of ideological insanity, and the remedy, the trivium grammar, logic, rhetoric. Teach your sons to parse sentences, detect fallacies, and dismantle sophistry. Don't send them to state universities, they're enemy territory. Build alternative institutions, homeschool, form reading groups. Study Aristotle, Aquinas, Locke. Because truth is not found in DEI manuals, it's found in the blood of martyred thinkers who refuse to kneel. Cultural Marxism is not a theory, it's a bioweapon against Western manhood. And the only antidote is uncompromising truth. So speak it, live it, defend it, or die silent in a world where even your thoughts are criminal. I have watched boys raised on participation trophies collapse at the first real challenge, whimpering like spoiled children, because no one taught them that suffering builds strength. And I've realized the rot goes deeper than parenting. It's systemic, ideological, deliberate. The same forces that mock a man for defending himself also dismantle history, virtue, and biology, replacing them with performative guilt and emotional chaos. And so I began asking not just what is broken, but who broke it, and how we burn it down and start anew. The redemption of manhood, reclaiming virtue, power, and the transcendentals. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. And yet here we are in 2024, watching men live on emotional crumbs, digital validation, and the sad scraps of feminist-approved masculinity. Be sensitive, apologize constantly, don't lead, don't fight. Don't father, just consume. I've seen grown men cry because their girlfriend called them toxic for wanting to pay the bill. I've seen men arrested for saying biology is real online while rapists tweet in support of gender euphoria and get verified. The world has flipped, not evolved, flipped, and now weakness is virtue and strength is crime. The Matrix isn't sci-fi. It's the cultural operating system that tells men they are oppressors simply for existing, while women who punch their boyfriends trend on TikTok with hashtags like girl power and you go girl. A man in Ohio told me his wife, sucker, punched him in the face during an argument, broke his nose, and when he called the cops, they laughed and said, "You're a man. Just walk it off." But when a woman slaps a guy on a date and posts it, the media calls it empowerment. Let's be clear, if a man slapped a woman for disagreeing with him, he'd be in prison before the video hit 10,000 views. That asymmetry isn't justice, it's genocentric tyranny baked into law, media, and psychology. And the data proves it. Male victims of domestic violence are underreported by 75%. Not because it doesn't happen, but because society brands them as weak, pathetic, or deserving. The CDC admits that women are just as likely, if not more likely, to initiate physical violence in relationships. Yet 93% of domestic violence funding goes to women's shelters. Men's shelters, they don't exist. Men's advocacy, labeled misogynist. We've built an entire victimhood hierarchy where the only man allowed to suffer is the one who admits he's the problem. Let me tell you about Andrew Tate, not as some guru, not as a savior, but as a symptom. The reason millions of young men flock to him isn't because he drives a Bugatti or dates Romanian models. It's because he says, "I'm not sorry for being strong." That simple sentence is revolutionary in a world that demands men kneel, apologize for their existence, and confess sins they didn't commit. Tate didn't invent male confidence. Sparta did. Rome did. The Knights of the Round Table did. But Tate exposed the hunger. Men are starving for unapologetic strength, for truth, for hierarchy, for meaning. The establishment calls him dangerous. Of course they do. He's like a steak dinner shown to a man who's been force-fed sawdust for decades. The same people who call Tate toxic are the ones who gave us participation trophies, safe spaces, and pronoun policing in schools, institutions that have systematically neutered boys. Compare that to the Spartan Agoj, where boys were taken from their mothers at age 7, taught to endure pain, to fight, to lead, to die for their polis, no safe spaces, no therapy dogs. No one asking how their feelings were. They were forged, not coddled, and Sparta stood for centuries while empires crumbled around it. Now, we have schools where boys are medicated for normal boy behavior, labeled with ADHD for having energy, and shamed for wanting to compete. The result: male suicide is 4 times higher than female suicide in the US and rising. Boys are falling behind in education, disconnected from fathers, and drowning in porn, the only place they can still see a woman who looks like a woman. Feminism didn't liberate women. It infantilized them and castrated men. And don't give me that equality nonsense. Equality of outcome is tyranny disguised as fairness. Nature isn't equal, it's hierarchical. A lion doesn't apologize for being strong. A stag doesn't ask permission to lead the herd. And a man shouldn't have to beg forgiveness for wanting to be a man. I'll tell you a secret the left doesn't want you to know. Virtue is strength. The transcendentals, the good, the true, the beautiful are not oppressive constructs. They are objective realities grounded in God, nature, and reason. When Keats wrote "Beauty is truth, truth beauty," he wasn't being poetic. He was stating a metaphysical law. But modern culture has replaced truth with your truth, beauty with self-expression, and goodness with non-judgment. It's a bait and switch. They take the sacred, rename it, and sell it back to you as rebellion. That's cultural Marxism in a nutshell. Destroy the objective, replace it with the subjective, then call you the bigot for questioning it. Leftism isn't about justice, it's about power, and its most potent weapon is shame. They shame men for strength, for ambition, for desire, for fatherhood. They shame fathers who want custody. 70% of family court cases favor mothers, regardless of fitness. They shame men who speak up. Just ask the guy arrested for commenting men aren't women under a government post. But when a woman says all men are trash, it's comedy. This isn't equality, it's asymmetric warfare. And the battlefield is your mind. The red pill isn't anger, it's clarity. It's seeing that the divorce rate, the 50% cuckoldry rate in high-risk populations, the way men are discarded in family court, the way male victims are ignored, none of this is accidental. It's designed. And the antidote isn't rage, it's virtue. Be good by doing right. Seek truth, no matter how unpopular. Create beauty through art, family, discipline, craft. This is how we burn down Babylon, not with Molotovs, but with radiant virtue. The fall of man wasn't in Eden. It was in 1965 when men abdicated duty, let women rule, and traded honor for comfort. Now, the masculine mandate returns. Manhood is not identity, it is vocation. Your purpose isn't to consume, comply, or confess. It's to create, protect, lead, and father. Jordan Peterson's maps, just the beginning. We need independent schools, men's groups, truth-based media, parallel institutions to bypass the rot. Because the mainstream isn't broken, it's enemy occupied, and the only way out is through meaning. Viktor Frankl was right, man doesn't need happiness, he needs purpose. But modern culture offers men Netflix, porn, and antidepressants instead. That's not liberation, it's enslavement. So wake up, build, fight. Not with hate, with virtue so bright it blinds the demons. That's how we reclaim the West. That's how we redeem manhood. You think this is about feminism. This is about you, the man who's been lied to since birth. Told to kneel in the confessional of female emotion, to genuflect before the altar of her truth, while your sons are drugged, your savings seized, your voice silenced, your body weaponized against you in courts that treat you like a suspect simply for being male. Let's cut the psychobabble. 50% of marriages end in divorce, and in 80% of those, the woman initiates it. Not because men are monsters, but because hypergamy is baked into the female psyche like sugar in a donut. You're not broken. The system is rigged. Your wife can lie about abuse, take the kids, take the house, take your pension, and if you so much as mention the 12% cuckoldry rate confirmed by DNA testing, you're toxic, controlling, abusive. But when a man is punched, slapped, or choked by his girlfriend, and CDC data shows nearly 5 million men are victims of physical abuse annually, the cops laugh. The ER doctor shrugs. The judge ignores it. Male suffering is invisible because the narrative demands men be oppressors, not victims. That lie is the foundation of the feminist state. I was once told to listen more by a therapist hired by my soon-to-be ex-wife's lawyer. I listened. I apologized. I went through anger management for speaking loudly when she hurled a frying pan at my head. They didn't set up violence management for her. They gave her victim standing, a restraining order, and half of everything I'd built. That's not fairness. That's a legal framework tilted toward women, where women are seen as always blameless and men as default threats. The same structure that labels your dedication to work as white supremacy, yes. D'Angelo actually claims punctuality is racist. Will celebrate a woman leaving her job to discover herself while branding you a deadbeat dad for challenging child support payments you never consented to. This isn't balance, it's a takeover, and it's been broadcast for 6 decades on sitcoms where the clueless husband gets ridiculed. The knowing wife sighs in superiority, and the crowd chimes in with approval, canned laughter training you to accept your own degradation. So what now? You don't heal by journaling your feelings into a void. You don't grow by submitting to another sensitivity training where a DEI bureaucrat lectures you on your privilege while ignoring the 80,000 men who kill themselves each year, many after losing their children. No. You rise. You see the Matrix not as a victim, but as a man who now knows the rules. You stop apologizing for existing. You build real relationships based on truth, not therapy speak. You protect your sons from the emasculation factory we call school. You speak, you write, you fight, not with rage, but with the cold fire of logic. You cite the data, you name the lies, you mock the absurdity. A culture that calls a man abusive for enforcing boundaries, but celebrates a woman who aborts a child at 8 months, then runs for office on reproductive rights. You become immune to guilt. You stop buying the narrative that your strength is the problem. It was never the problem, your surrender was. Now you know. Now you act. Now you win. And now the sponsored book introduction, The 100 Years' War. Chrissy Agincourt, The Last Honest War Fought by Men Without Excuses. You think war is about peace. You think courage is about not being afraid. You think leadership is about inclusivity. You are wrong. War is about dominance. Courage is about action, despite fear. Leadership is about making decisions that others cannot bear to make. I learned this not from a classroom, not from a TED talk, not from a diversity seminar, but from standing in the mud of Agincourt, not in 1415, but in 2019. When I walked the field where 6,000 Englishmen broke 20,000 French knights with arrows, grit, and a king who fought beside them. I stood there in silence, no speeches, no hashtags. Just the wind, the soil, and the ghosts of men who didn't wait for permission to be strong. I didn't write this book for everyone. I wrote it for men who are tired of being told they are the problem. Tired of being shamed for ambition, for strength, for wanting to lead. Tired of being told their instincts are toxic, their confidence is arrogance, their desire to protect is oppression. I am not here to soothe your guilt. I am here to dismantle it. The 100 Years' War was not fought by committees, by sensitivity trainers, by men who cried in therapy and called it bravery. It was fought by men who knew death was coming and walked toward it anyway. Men who didn't outsource courage to algorithms or morality to social media. Men who understood that weakness in war means death, and weakness in society means decay. This is not a history book in the way schools teach history. This is a mirror. It shows you what men once were and what most men are not today. The longbow required 150 pounds of pull force. It took years to master. It demanded physical strength, relentless practice, and a will forged in pain. The modern man cannot even hold a plank for 2 minutes. He scrolls, he consumes, he complains, he waits for someone to empower him. The men of Cressy didn't wait. They acted, they bled, they won. And they did not apologize for it. You will read about kings who fought in the front lines, Edward III, Henry Vermen, who led with steel in their hands, not slogans on their lips. They didn't hide behind PR teams. They didn't blame fate. They took responsibility, and when they lost, they died trying. That kind of leadership is extinct today, replaced by bureaucrats who measure success by diversity quotas and engagement metrics. If you are a man who still believes strength matters, who still believes in hierarchy, in duty, in excellence, this book is for you. If you are someone who believes gender is a social construct, that power is oppression, that equality is the highest good, then close this book now. Walk away. Go write poetry about your feelings. Join a support group. This is not for you. This book is not interested in your approval. It is not designed to make you feel safe. It will not validate your ideology. It is written for men who are done with lies. Men who understand that nature is not fair, that life is not equal, and that strength is not a crime. We will dissect the psychology of the warrior, not the modern version who wears a helmet and cries about trauma, but the ancient one who knew that honor was not given, it was earned in blood. We will expose the myth of progress, the lie that we are morally superior to men of the past. We are not. We are softer. We are weaker. We have more comfort but less character. And because of that, we are losing not to enemies with swords but to decay from within. The family collapses, loyalty evaporates, men retreat, women dominate, and no one dares speak the truth. This book will not make you popular. It will not make you liked, but it will make you clear. It will show you what dominance looks like. not as a dirty word, but as a biological imperative. It will teach you that guilt is not a moral compass. It is a weapon used against men to control them. That sensitivity is not wisdom. It is a disease that spreads when men stop protecting what matters. If you are ready to stop apologizing for being a man, if you are ready to reclaim strength without shame, if you are ready to study the last honest war, a war fought without excuses, without victimhood, without therapy, speak then, read on. The truth is not kind, but it is real, and only the real can save you. The 100 Years' War, Creasy Agincourt, the last honest war, fought by men without excuses, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.